After 2 wonderful days in Fukuoka, the seal is now broken, and I am no longer bound by the confinement of the city limits. Wait, what seal? This seal. Even though the national JR pass is now obsolete thanks to its ridiculous "screw you tourist" pricing, the regional passes are still going very strong, including the JR All Kyushu pass I bought for this trip. However, since the pass is only valid for 7 days, I had to spend the first 2 days in Fukuoka before I can start using the high-speed railway to venture further. The past 2 days have been an unforgettable journey, but now that I have the free train rides at my disposal, I cannot wait to start exploring everything that lies beyond Fukuoka. Here's the plan. From Fukuoka, I'm heading straight to Kagoshima, the southernmost major city in Kyushu. From there, I'll take an overnight ferry to Yakushima, a subtropical sanctuary that's been on my bucket list for a very long time. In fact, most of this trip's planning has revolved around Yakushima because there are so many factors to consider just to get there. It took me an entire day to scrape together the transport and accessibility details for Yakushima and find the one configuration that worked for me. Yes, you heard that right. Out of thousands of possible permutations of routes and transport options, there was exactly one setup that could work for my schedule. I have to take a train to the station nearest to the port, catch the latest overnight ferry, and transfer to that one bus at the exact minute to reach the trailhead at the optimal time. From there, I must then complete the trail within a calculated window to catch the bus back to the port in time for the last ferry out. If that sounds stressful, it's because it is. But I don't know when or if I'll get another chance to visit Kyushu, so it was a risk I had to take. And that's why I only have until 4 p.m. before I have to set out for the port. My stay in Kagoshima will be brief. But even with such a tight schedule, I still preferred something more organic over a checklist. Before this trip, I watched a video about Kagoshima, and one frame had been living in my head rent-free ever since. A lonely train station by the ocean, its traditional tiled roof set against lush green hills, with Sakurajima in the distance. I couldn't stop thinking about it. I really wanted to go there. The problem was, the video didn't specify where the shot was taken. Still, it shouldn't be too hard to figure out, right? Let's see. Sakurajima has 2 peaks, but only one is visible in the shot. The only angle in Kagoshima to get this view is from here. But there are several stations along the sea. Which one is it? In the shot, the station appears very close to the mountain on the right, and if we move a bit closer, we get the exact shot. There it is, Shigatomi Station. I'm going there. Before I set off, I saw a gachapon machine selling miniatures of JR Kyushu's special design and story trains, including the 2 trains I was about to take. So I gave it a go. Which one did I get? Well, it'll be a secret for now. I'll show you at the right time. With my newly activated JR pass, I hopped on my free ride. The train hummed north along the shoreline, and I could hear the sea breeze brushing against the windows. I had no idea what awaited me at my destination. Would I like what I saw? Were there things to do around the station? I just didn't know. But that's part of the fun. You never know what might surprise you when you make that stop, and I couldn't wait to find out. It had been a bit overcast when I left Fukuoka this morning, but now the skies had completely cleared up. Watching the waves shimmer under the sun and the volcano loom in the distance, I was reminded of that summer I spent in Naples 10 years ago. That was a long, long time ago. Shigatomi Station was, as expected, a tiny stop on the edge of Ira City. The station felt like a time capsule long abandoned to the wilderness, and yet, whenever a train passed through, the station would come back to life, but just for a brief moment. As the train accelerates away, the station will slip back into its slumber, as if nothing had ever come to pass in the countryside. Did I find the view I was looking for? I did. But what really filled me with a sense of accomplishment is that a month ago, I dropped a pin on this random place in another country and thought, yep, I can go there. And now here I am standing exactly where I saw on my monitor screen. That's just very cool. As I came down from the footbridge and started to wonder what to do next, the station was 2 steps ahead and had information on places of interest nearby at the ready. And as if that's not enough, there was a very detailed map showing you how to get to these places just in front of the station. I mean, this, ladies and gentlemen, is the middle of nowhere. No YouTuber will ever tell you to come here. And yet there's so many adventures waiting to happen the moment I hopped off the train. I hope this is a reassurance for those of you still feeling insecure traveling without a checklist. Since I was so close to the sea, I decided to take a stroll along the shore. After that, I might check out one of the places on the map, but I had to save my strength for tomorrow, and I won't risk doing something too demanding. It was a very short walk to the shore. While I waited for the traffic light, the local funeral home was trying to make me stay in Japan a tiny bit longer than what I had in mind by showing me all the crazy deals they had. I just find it amusing how common funeral ads are in Japan. I didn't know this is a highly competitive market that requires this amount of promotion, but I just can't see myself looking at an ad like this and casually thought to myself, yep, someone has to go before the next Saturday. Now that I've mentioned it, I remember seeing this funeral ad all the time on the Kyoto subway. It was colorful with pretty fonts and didn't stand out at all. In fact, I was seeing that ad so often that I even learned that a budget-friendly small-scale funeral with only family and close friends is called a kazokuso. I didn't give it too much thought at the time, but reflecting on that now, it's not normal at all to have a funeral service ad on the subway where I'm from. I guess it says a lot about Japan's aging society, but also about their cultural acceptance of death, which is kind of cool. The sea was shrouded in murky dark gray, and the waves crashed harshly against the shore. With the sun blazing overhead and the ocean winds whipping into my face, it wasn't the casual stroll along the coast I had in mind. But even so, I sat on the steps and enjoyed a rare moment of solitude with nature, which is a recurring theme of this trip. You'll see. I decided my next destination would be the historical trail to the south, called Shirakanizaka, or the Hill of Silver. So I set off on a peaceful walk through the town, completely on my own. It was dead silent, and no one seemed to be around. It felt like being spirited away to a quiet corner of the world that no one talks about anymore, but I didn't mind. It wasn't long before the road ended at the edge of a motorway, and I was finally reinserted into civilization. The Hill of Silver was just on the other side, but a soup curry restaurant across the road caught my eye. Its vibrant colors were impossible to ignore, and since it happened to be lunchtime, I thought, why not give it a try? I pushed open the door, and to my surprise, the place was quite full, and a lot of the customers were senior citizens. I know just enough Japanese to order myself a chicken soup curry with locally sourced vegetables and a small portion of rice. The waitress also kindly let me know that coffee was self-serve from the machine. Just what I needed.
Coffee to water. Self-service.
The ambiance was clinking dishes and hushed conversations, and curiously, reggae. There was a comic booklet on the table telling the story of the restaurant owner's journey to Hokkaido, where he left everything behind in pursuit of the perfect soup curry, which is going to be my lunch. I liked how the curry was presented. The tender chicken thigh was surrounded by a colorful medley of vegetables in a deep orange broth. The taste is quite different from a typical bowl of curry rice, and it somehow reminded me of peri-peri chicken from Sainsbury's. But I think as long as you enjoy curry and spices, you'll find it quite enjoyable. After finishing my meal, I paid the bill and headed toward Shirakanizaka, the Silver Hill. The trail turned out to be much steeper than I had anticipated, and the rocky path was quite challenging to navigate. However, the weather was beautiful, and the view after just a 15-minute climb was not too shabby at all. I would have gone further if the trail had been less physically demanding, but it was a tough climb, and I didn't want to risk ruining my upcoming trip to Yakushima. By the time I made my way back down, it was already 2 p.m. My ferry tonight would finish boarding at 5:30, and since the port is quite far away, I needed to return to Kagoshima Chuo Station and catch the 4:02 train to make it to the ferry in time. So I started my walk back to Shigatomi Station. The station was as quiet as when I left it. If I could, I wouldn't mind staying a little longer. The peace and quiet out here isn't something everyone would appreciate, but if you do, we should be friends. And that was my ride. Shinkansens are undoubtedly the fastest way to travel, but the older, slower trains have their charms too. The one I was on had elegant analog dials and a retro-futuristic touchscreen in a neon orange monochrome, which reminded me of animes from the 80s. Once I got back to Kagoshima, I still had to get ready for the night ahead. With no food stops expected along tomorrow's route, I had to make sure to pack enough calories for a full day, just in case. After stocking up on food and water, I went to recharge my IC card. Preparations done, I went down to the platforms and waited for my train. The sun was setting, casting long beautiful shadows, and my train arrived after only a short wait. The train carried me south, away from the city. Though it wasn't a direct route, I still had a ways to walk, but I didn't mind at all. The sunny weather made my heart sing, and I was extremely excited to spend a night on a cargo ferry. As far as I know, very few people visiting Yakushima choose to do this. The ferry is called the Hibiscus, but despite the lovely name, it is a cargo ship that offers little in the way of comfort. There are no beds or mattresses. I'd have to basically sleep on the floor with the blanket and pillow provided. But knowing that I would get to peer into the darkest night sky away from the city lights while riding the waves to a remote island, comfort was something I was willing to sacrifice. The walk to the port took me through another peaceful neighborhood. The sky was a baby blue sheet laundered clean, adorned with cotton candy clouds. And somehow, there was a rocket in the distance. But I didn't have time to figure it out. I was running a bit late and had to hurry. After about 30 minutes, I saw a ship of magenta and white in the distance, and I knew from the pictures that was my ride. The port was far more industrial than I imagined. Shipping containers and warehouses were everywhere, with trucks hauling goods left and right. It was frankly quite intimidating. A month ago, I'd never have thought I'd find myself in a place like this during my trip to Japan, but here I was, and I couldn't be more excited. At the end of the road, I took a right and finally stood before the Hibiscus in all its rusty glory. I approached the repurposed container ticket office with overflowing anticipation. That's when I saw this.